CRAN is a group of journalists from various print, electronic, and online media assigned by the organizations to cover crime, security, and safety-related matters within the public security space and private security organizations. The crime beat, which covers activities in the police, immigration, customs, civil defense, drug agency, and other related agencies, secret service, and private security sector, is an arm of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here just like we have done in previous years, principally to deliberate on a theme we consider politically expedient in the scheme of things in present-day Nigeria. Today's topic, 2019 general elections, the security challenges ahead, was carefully chosen, bearing in mind that our country is entering an election year. In essence, we are here to learn from persons who have paid their dues in security management. You will no doubt agree with me that CRAN Annual Lecture Award is the only private sector initiative where top security chiefs in all the law enforcement agencies are brought under one roof to share ideas. Please put your hands together for that. Over the years, our lectures have focused on relevant issues that called for expert discussion and recommendations. Arising from such have gone a long way in helping the relevant government agencies, authorities in finding solutions to the perceived challenges. The lecture is to be delivered by a time-tested speaker whose pedigree as a former top brass in the nation's secret service is intellectually based. There is no doubt that he will do justice to the team, and hopefully the outcome of our deliberation with regards to the lecture will certainly assist the security agencies in their roles during the forthcoming general elections. In past elections, Nigeria had faced several challenges, much of which hinged on insecurity, as violence either prior, during, or after elections are reared ugly heads. Several lives were lost. But turning out in great number, may I say that our association does not take for granted the high regard you have for us, and we dare say that the greatness we associate with our annual lecture derives strongly from your involvement by way of financial, moral, and material support. While we diligently appreciate the effort, the support of all those who have assisted us one way or the other over time, may I use this opportunity to appeal that you should not get tired any time we seek your assistance. On behalf of my great association, I want to particularly appreciate authorities of the Nigerian Police Force, especially the Inspector General of Police and the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State, who is one of the chief hosts of today's event, Nigeria Immigration Service, Nigeria Customs Service, banks, especially UBA, Zenith, Diamond, Sterling Bank. They have been our supporters all through the years. We are exceptionally grateful to the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, and his Commissioner in charge of Lagos State, Ega. We are grateful to everyone who has helped to ensure that today's event is a success. May the good Lord bless you all, as I wish us a fruitful lecture award ceremony. Thank you for giving me your attention. Thank you.
Distinguished invitees, awardees, good morning. I'm here on behalf of my Commissioner of Police, CP Umehi Edgar, which I believe will soon be here with us. The chairman has made his remarks, and the topic for discourse today is on election 2019, security challenges. I'm sure the guest speaker will talk much on it. My security challenges in the 2019 election is the press and social media. Luckily, the Crime Reporters Association of Nigeria convened this important event. If the press reports the correct happening in the country before, during, and after election, I'm sure there will be no violence. The social media also If they report anything negatively, it will spark up the security situation of the nation. So I appeal to the press and the social media to help the nation move forward by reporting whatever they see correctly, and the Almighty God will take control of the nation and will move forward.
We are discussing a very pertinent subject today, elections in Nigeria. It is one point as an independent country that we've not been able to get right. And we continue trying. Every time we continue, we of course get some mileage out of it where we improve on the previous one. So right now, I'd like to run into the lecture. I just have 20 minutes to deliver this. I wish I had a longer time so that we can discuss. First of all, I would like to, I'm sorry my projector didn't show, so I couldn't show you the graphics, but I'll try as much as possible to get them out for you. So, in Nigeria, one thing that many people try to forget is that democracy is a stranger to our system. And we try to imbibe this democracy, and we've not been able to get it right. Because we are trying to practice something that is not very familiar with us. It's like sending or bringing an Oyibo man into Nigeria and giving him amala and ewedu. And sometimes we find it very difficult. It might run his stomach or whatever. Same way, if we go overseas and they give us, for the very first time, we eat salad and some people will think whether it is cooked or not. So, we were operating a system of monarchy. That was what Nigerians and even majority of African countries were practicing. Monarchy. And in monarchy, you appoint a king. The king lives and reigns there until he dies. And when he dies, there's a crown prince that takes over from him, who is his son. So you find out that it follows a lineage, and it does not go to anybody else. And that is the government of the day. Now, when the colonial masters came and left, our own politicians were introduced into the system. Now, the politicians felt, rightfully or wrongly, that they are now the new monarchs. And because they are the new monarchs, they like to remain in power all the time. Are you with me? Now you find out that the politicians will also, just like the kings believe that democracy is not for him anyway. How can his vote be equal to the vote of his servant? A servant that he can actually arrest and sell away as a slave. And this servant is now going to have the same vote like himself. So it becomes an anomaly where the politicians also believe that they cannot have the same vote with the ordinary citizen. It becomes so bad that in Africa we have history of presidents who have been there for years, 28 years, 30 years, just next door to us. Paul Biya has been there for about 30-something years. And in Zaire, he ran the country aground. In Congo, he ran the country until he handed over to his son, who is still there now, just following the monarchical hierarchy. So it becomes very difficult for us. In Nigeria, fortunately, we have a lot of different kings, so we don't have a king which is central to rule over us. But at the same time, we still have that genes, the DNA that is running through us. And of course, you'll find out that during elections, you will find out that there are people that are selected, anointed, but not elected. So you find out some people will say, this is the governor's candidate. And they will impose him. Impositions are happening till today. The other people will say, no, this is the person that the party has selected. But why can't they allow the ordinary people to vote so that they can elect who their rulers are supposed to be? The politicians will not agree because they felt that the king cannot have the same vote with the commoner. So I quickly move into the dots of security challenges that we have. The dots of security challenges, we have the Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, lack of voter education, because many people believe that election is the only form of democracy. And a lot of people don't even know who to vote for. Some people believe that when it is voting time, it's party time. Some politicians will definitely come and buy their votes, and then they will have some money for the day. We politicize, farmers and herders clash, underage voting, and of course many people don't realize that the IDP people, the internally displaced persons, are not going to vote. And this causes some problems for us constitutionally, because we have this insurgency and some local governments are really very, very dangerous to go out and vote. We have rigging by vote buying and vote selling. And Nigerians have come a long way. I remember the days when we were conducting or monitoring elections, and of course they will buy a big loaf of bread, cut it into two, and put some money in it, and be giving people, oh, you people come to vote, you are very tired, and have this loaf of bread, have some water. When you open the bread, there's money in it, and then you have to vote for the person that gave you the bread. Now we've gone further than that. You vote, and then you take a picture of it, and then you show somebody that it is your party I voted for, and they give you the money. So vote buying has continued in different forms. In fact, political parties are now going ahead and doing certain things. So recently there was a fire in one of the states, and the whole market was burned down. The opposition party went down there and gave money to the traders there and said, look, use this money to balance yourself out. When we win the election, we'll do more than that for you. All those are vote buying in different forms. Then, of course, we have proliferation of illegal arms. And it is, believe it or not, the number of arms, illegal arms, that are in unauthorized persons is so much that it becomes a problem even for the security agencies to control the situation. A very big dot in the security challenge is electoral violence, and I'll talk more about that later. What are really the causes of electoral violence? The stupendously available money. Stupendously. I don't know how many people who have thought about it, whereby the money that politicians are stealing If it was in some countries, the country would have gone bankrupt. But besides all the stealing and corruption going on, Nigeria is still standing up. It tells you the kind of money we have. There are people who go to Dubai. If you look at Dubai, you cry for Nigeria. And this is a small country that don't have even up to the amount of oil that we have. But they've transformed the desert into an, into an oasis where the whole world comes to drink. And it shows that our money, although we have it, is spent anyhow. Stupendously available money. And you find out that the level of money that we use in politics is actually responsible for the governance that we have. Corruption has enhanced political rivalry because the reason why they are fighting to get into that office, Nigeria. I like to say here that Nigeria is a country which is developing, so it has a lot of problems to be solved. And if there is any politician who is very serious about solving those problems, after seeing the big problem that we have in this country, would even prefer not to go near there if it's not very ready. But instead, what do we have? They are fighting and killing each other to get in there. Why are they fighting? It's not to make Nigeria greater. They are fighting to get their hands on that money. And when they get in there, they allocate themselves, they give themselves all kinds of benefits. They give themselves all kinds of salaries. They pay themselves allowances for really doing nothing. Now corruption has enhanced this. Now another one that we have, one of the causes of electoral violence, is the weak law enforcement institutions that we have in the country. The police itself has spread itself so thin. The security agencies are controlled. In other climes, the police, if you want to be commissioner of police, you run for an election and they will vote you. And if you win, you are the commissioner of police. And the Constitution guarantees you, and you work independent of the governor or the president. In fact, in a place like the United States of America, we have state police. And in Nigeria, it is very difficult for us to even go ahead and ratify that bill on state police because the politicians don't want a state police. Politicians believe that the law enforcement agencies or the security agencies are the power they have. They are the teeth of government. So you find out a situation where the state security service will be sent to go and do illegal things to favor politicians. And you see a situation where they will not allow state police because they believe that the governor, if it's an opposition governor, will use it against them. So the security agencies are caught up in the middle. They've tried. Their hands are tied behind them and they cannot do much because they are in their own country where they are being teleguided. If you are a police officer or a state security or immigration officer, you are not supposed to have your own opinion. But we are fighting for a situation where the security agencies will be independent and be allegiant to the constitution of the country. That way, they will do what is right, and they don't care whose ox is God. I give an example of the President of the United States, Richard Nixon. He went and committed an illegal crime. And when they told him to resign, he said no, he's not going to resign. The Secret Service is going to fight for him if anybody comes around. And Kissinger, the Foreign Affairs Minister, the Secretary of State, told him, if you don't resign, the FBI is going to come here and arrest you. He said, oh, the Secret Service will take care of them. He said, Mr. President, go to your window and look outside, whether there is any Secret Service guarding you. He went outside and he looked, and there was nobody. They've all left. And he was forced to go and resign before the FBI comes to arrest him. In Nigeria, it is practically impossible to arrest the president, even if he has committed an offense. You cannot, because he's your boss. And where is that happening? Because of the bills, the laws that form the police, that form the SSS, all of them are referring to a situation where they are under the president. The Inspector General of Police will report to the president. The Director General of the SSS will report to the president. So anything he tells you will be yes, sir. There's nothing like, oh, but excuse me, this is wrong. It does not happen in our climes. So it is a situation that we have to fight for, where the law enforcement institutions will be strengthened. The next one is the weak justice system. You hear politicians will tell you, I will rig this election, and if you lose, you can go to court. Because he knows that when you go to court, nothing will happen. Or we will remain in court until the next election. So the justice system, which is the third arm of government, is weak. They all play to the executive. And then, of course, lastly, we have the religious and ethnic divide. The politician who has been beaten because he's unpopular will run back to his people and say, oh, you know, they are trying to do me like this because I'm an Igbo man. They are trying to do this because I'm a Muslim. Or they don't like me because I'm a minority. So we always hide under, the politicians will always hide under the religious or ethnic balance, and then use it to their own advantage. Intelligence sharing while protecting sources. Many people will say, why is it that the security agencies are not sharing intelligence? It's not only in this country, many countries. And one of the reasons is because the sources might not be protected when you share it. So everybody wants to share and keep to his heart. The security agencies should be seen as impartial, and they should be impartial and be seen as impartial. And now there's another one that is introduced in Nigeria, which I think is very, very potent, but we are not using it. On election day, usually we have no movement rule, the rule of no movement. The security agencies should enforce it seriously, because sometimes you find out that if everybody just stay around this vicinity, go and vote and go back home, there will be no problem. But you have thugs who are coming with either one governor or the other, or opposition party, going to another area to go and cause problem. So allow them to operate and make sure that whoever he is, even a governor, is not supposed to move around. He's supposed to go and cast his vote and go back home. But there's a problem in Nigeria here. We have the mentality of big man problem. And because the governors are usually the people that sometimes sponsor the law enforcement agencies, when they see him, they cannot enforce the law on him. And also, we want the law enforcement agencies and the security agencies to carry out drills. Election is how many weeks from now? It's now that the law enforcement and security should start practicing, do exercises of what could happen, create scenarios that will help in case there is any problem, so that they can nip anything in the bud. They will be ready. There is a situation where when underage people are there voting, the security agents look at them and throw their face away. We want a situation where, say, how old are you? We are a small boy. Why are you in this line? Get them out. And again, it comes back to the situation of being independent. Because if the security agencies are not independent, somebody will tell them, leave them, and they go ahead and do their voting. Security agencies should provide actionable election intelligence. Actionable. Serious intelligence that affects that election and which can be worked on. There should be no overlooking of crime committed on election day. No need. If anybody commits crime on that day, the person should be taken and prosecuted. The Nigerian media must take ownership in the electoral process. The Nigerian media used to be the arm. I'm happy that we are here in this occasion organized by the Crime Reporters Association. If you remember very well, some weeks ago, there was a midterm election in the United States. There was no INEC there. I didn't see any. Maybe you did. No INEC. It was the press people that were, forecasting, and then as the results were coming in, they were putting it down there for everybody until a winner is declared. And if there are anything to be investigated, crime reporters are normally investigators, and we expect that they should investigate and tell us more about what is going on.